Well, hello everybody, and thank you so very much for joining us today. We're delighted so many of you have chosen to attend the offer holders event. We're going to go through some general housekeeping before we make a start as well. So just to inform everybody that we will be recording the session to make it available to you and those who are unable to join us live today. The session is going to run for just about an hour. So sadly, there's not going to be an opportunity to ask questions live at this time, but we are going to be answering questions that you've submitted via the form that was previously circulated to you all. We've received lots of questions from you, and thank you for making the effort to submit these. We're going to be covering some of the key themes and signposting you to where you can find the information that is specific to some of your circumstances as well throughout the session. Excuse me. We're aware that students have questions about travel, accommodation, how the LSE will be operating in September, and lots of other queries. There's going to be information coming out from the central school and our other departments within the LSE as soon as this becomes available to you. And we're going to keep sharing that in our post-offer communications, in our newsletters, and we are going to be holding some more offer holder webinars as well. So what I'll do is just introduce everybody to our panel today, and hopefully if you guys could share your cameras, that would be lovely. Fantastic. So we have Dr. Joe Braithwaite. Dr. Joe is Dr. Joe. So it sounds like a medical doctor. Joe is our LLM program director. Kirsty Whitelock, she works in the LSE Careers Service as our careers consultant. We have Julia, Gabriella, Anisha, and Akanksha. These are our fabulous student reps this year, and they're going to be giving you a little bit of information about being a student on the LLM program and what their experiences were of the program as well. So let me just check that I've covered all of those bits. I'm just going to share one more thing with you. Sorry, bear with me. Okay, so joining us just a little bit, joining us just a little bit later on is going to be our department manager, Matt Rowley. He's going to be talking to you about studying at the LSE in general and the next academic year and what it's going to look like and what you can expect from it. My name is Rachel West. I'm the Student Experience and Programme Delivery Officer, and I'll be running through some of the questions that you have previously submitted via the forms that we were talking about. So that leaves me to hand over to Joe Braithwaite, who's going to be talking to you about the LSE Law Department and the LLM programme in general. Joe.
Thanks, Rachel, and welcome everybody. A very warm welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. And it's also lovely to see all the student reps and to see Kirsty again. So very warm welcome. So as Rachel just explained, my name's Joe Braithwaite. I'm one of the directors of the LLM programme. I teach and research in the area of financial law. So like all LSE academics, I'm engaged in both teaching and research. So that's my area. I teach 2 courses, banking law and the law and practice of international finance. This year I'm supervising about 16 LLM dissertations, which are still ongoing, as our panelists know well. And I've been at LSE for about 12 years. And one of the things I want to do before I hand over to Kirsty is tell you a little bit about what I enjoy about LSE and what's so special about the department. I also want to tell you a little bit about how the LLM works. And of course, that information is also on the LLM program website, where you can explore all sorts of things around the program structure and the different options that are available. So that's sort of the goal for the few minutes that I have. As mentioned, I teach and research financial law, but one of the things I've enjoyed in the last couple of years is being involved in the LLM. So if you can hear any growling, I promise it's not me bringing a serious tone to this session. This is my dog in the background. So the course structure, the LLM course structure, is assuming students are taking the course full-time, and of course we have a full range of part-time options as well. but the full-time LLM comprises 8 units, which the usual ratio is 4 courses in Michaelmas term and 4 courses in the Lent term. So students are therefore picking 7 taught courses, which would usually be 4 in Michaelmas term, 3 taught courses in Lent term, and then the legal research and writing course would be in the Lent term as well. And that, as I'll mention in a minute, leads on to the 10,000 word independent research dissertation. So as Rachel mentioned, this is really just our sort of welcome to you. There'll be lots more information sent through to you pre-course. And one of those pre-course sessions, if I'm correct, is about the nuts and bolts of the course selection process. So I won't jump the gun on that one. Suffice to say, you'll get lots of information and discussion and opportunity to find out a bit more about that. But you'll be picking your courses right at the beginning of the academic year, with a small window to revise some of those, if you wish, at the beginning of the Lent term. So you'd be picking the 7 taught courses then, with permission, and it would be nice to hear from the panelists if any of them have taken this opportunity this year, but some students with permission can request to take a non-law LSE option as well. So this year, I talked to students who ended up taking courses in gender institute, finance, accountancy, international relations at a master's level. So at the law department, it's, I think, as I was discussing with Rachel, there are the most options available on the LLM of any course at LSE, so the most optionality. And this coming year, there'll be about 70 courses to choose from, which are always subject, because they are sort of research-led teaching, subject to people's sabbaticals, and so on. Most of these courses are capped at 30, not all. So my big course has 90 students on it, but most are capped at 30 because of class size and teaching mode. So most students, or many students, may find that the 7 courses that they wish to do initially, not all 7 are available. So there is some flexibility in that course process. But I would say that sometimes that can lead to some people taking courses that they wouldn't have thought of initially, that can be stretching and challenging. So there does need to be a certain amount of open-mindedness there, as I can confirm from having done my own LLM, not at LSE, but certainly exactly the same thing happens. And I can hand on heart say the various courses I did that I hadn't really expected to engage with, as well, ended up being some of the most inspiring. So you do need to be sort of open-minded and flexible on that side. So in terms of courses, while I'm on that topic, of course, you'll see if you've had a browse on the LSE Law website that we offer specialisms. So there's 14 specialisms up on the website. All 14 are available next year. And I won't go through all 14, but there's banking law, there's corporate commercial law in my kind of area, through to really popular courses in taxation, IT, media and comms. That's one bundle. Public international law, just to give you a couple of examples. Now, it's not necessary or required that you take a specialism. It's not always necessarily something that people wanted to do, but it's there if it's something that you're interested in. It's there and it's available, subject to the courses that you take. I would say, just going back to my own experience with the LLM, I didn't specialize. In fact, my goals for my LLM were quite the opposite. I wanted to diversify. I wanted to get a whole kind of landscape of subjects, kind of, and just approach law in a sort of in a interdisciplinary, more broad-minded way. And I got a huge benefit from doing a whole menu of different courses. And even though my area now is more specialized and more focused, I do find, for example, when I write about financial law, I'm drawing on some public law ideas. For example, I've even managed to sort of make a connection at one point with sort of some human rights. So there is no subject in law that benefits from a microscope. The more broad-minded you can be, the better. So bear that in mind when you're thinking about specialisms. In terms of the milestones of the year, I'm sure our amazing panelists from the student reps will vouch for this. I know firsthand the LLM year goes really quickly. It kind of goes faster and faster and faster. So when you first arrive, the weeks seem to fly by, but by the time you come back after the Christmas break and and the new year arrives, it seems to go on fast forward. So it is a really intense year, again, assuming you're taking the full-time route. So to help you just navigate the year, there's lots of support. There's also a good structure. So of course, when you first arrive, there's the welcome week. You'll meet your academic mentor, you'll meet your teachers, you'll meet peers, you'll have the course selection process, and then things really settle down and you get to grips with these 4 talk courses in Michaelmas. Each of the 2 teaching terms has a 1-week reading week, where certainly the law department doesn't have teaching. So that's another sort of milestone in Michaelmas. End of term events kind of whiz around in Michaelmas. This year we had a quiz, and one of the questions, it was all about sort of various things, including pop music that I knew nothing about, that others on my team did, and Christmas cooking, which I knew lots about, and others didn't. So that was good fun. Lent term, again, as mentioned, there is a short window for course selection to open up again at the beginning of Lent term. Lots more information around that at the time. Just to say, though, there is the option of changing subject to availability some of those Lent term courses if people wish. Week 6 of Lent term's also significant because this is when people finalise their dissertation titles. The dissertation is an independent research project that leads up to a 10,000 word dissertation submitted in August, and there is real freedom here to pick a subject that you want to focus in on and explore independently. Now, there's no hard and fast rules about this, but classically, I would say, having supervised kind of 100 and something plus dissertations in my LSE career, I'd say typically it tends to be a topic that somebody's covered in a talk course and they want to look at more intensively. So it may be something that's caught their imagination or gave them inspiration, or they want to make a connection between 2 topical points or explore a comparative dimension. But the seed of it is typically something you've covered in a talk course. So that's the dissertation, that's week 6, and Rachel and colleagues in the PSS team are really involved in that process, which unfolds in the second half of Lent term. And of course, by the time you come back for the 3rd term, that's dominated really by exams. There are also, of course, revision sessions, another meeting with your dissertation supervisor, and various support through LSE Life is also available. So this is the kind of shape, the milestones on your LLM journey. But of course, each of those journeys is sort of unique depending on what you want to get out of it and what you want to explore while you're at LSE. That all was very sort of fast, what I was just sort of flagging up. And of course, there's loads of support to help you navigate this journey. There's not only your teacher and your fellow students, which is an amazing network. There's your academic mentor that's a member of the faculty who will be with you for the whole year. There's the LLM team, there's Rachel and other colleagues, including Fiona on the exam side, who are deeply experienced, source of all wisdom on the LLM. Any questions from staff or students, they always know the answers. There's the SSLC reps, some of whom you're meeting in a minute. There's 2 PhD students who are there as LLM advisors, and often where LLM students are taking the course with a view to going on to a PhD, that's really nice for them to sort of talk to. Well, this year it's Mattia and Jakob who are studying in the department, and they talked a bit about PhD proposals and the process of the PhD. At school level, at LSE kind of school level, there's the Wellbeing Centre, there's LSE Life. Have a look at that right now. That's going on with master's dissertation tips, discourse analysis, one-on-one appointments on research ethics. Have a look at that website and you can see all of the support at LSE Life. And then of course there's careers, which we'll hear a lot more about in a minute, which of course is so important for LLM students. So one sort of set of questions that we got ahead of this was, what can you do to sort of really hit the ground running when you start on your LLM? And maybe SSLC reps will also have some suggestions. But I would say there's no one kind of magic formula. There's no one thing that you can be doing. it depends on what you want your PhD, your LLM sort of journey to be. So what you're doing the LLM for personally. So as mentioned, some people are using it to test a PhD idea out. So you'll be thinking deeply, perhaps even already, about what you want your dissertation to be, because sometimes people use that as a proposal for their PhD application. Sometimes people want to boost their CV with a view to applying to the English bar, and so they'll be looking for opportunities to do mooting. They'll be exploring maybe mini pupilages. So that will be something to think about ahead of time. Sometimes people are already established practitioners in one jurisdiction and they want to use the LLM to focus on shifting their career to a UK law firm. So that will be worth doing some sort of exploring beforehand. Very often people are coming from LLB and they want to deepen their knowledge in a particular area. So I'd suggest some more specialist reading. So for example, corporate finance or fintech, I would, I'd spend some time sort of reading up in that area if that's your goal. Or if you're like me, you just want to have a year browsing a menu of different law options and enjoying sort of exploring law as a subject that we all know is sort of endlessly fascinating, that's good too. So just prepare to arrive at LSE with the right mindset to stretch yourself and make the most of the opportunities. Finally, though, why have I been at LSE for 12 years? Why is LSE such a great place? 3 quick reasons before I hand over to Kirsty. First and foremost, of course, the students who are brilliant, clever, motivated, international, 50+ nationalities on the LLM most years. So motivated, such a wonderful group that it is a real, and I speak for all of my sort of teaching colleagues, it is a real pleasure to teach on the LLM courses. I could give you lots of examples of what LLM students have been up to this year, but one example is writing and publishing in the LSE Student Law Review. Another is engaging with the fast-breaking story around GameStop and putting on a workshop for students by students on GameStop. So the LSE LLM students are pretty unstoppable, and that's a real pleasure. The LSE community is pretty amazing too. The teachers are great, and you will actually be taught by the faculty. You will be taught by people doing this research. So it's pretty amazing being alongside people like Connor Gearty and Andrew Murray and Gary Simpson and Eve Maloney, and these amazing people who actually live and breathe their subjects. This year, to sort of help with that networking side, we had a new program of events called Convene that really engaged students, faculty, people connected to the department, like visiting professors in practice, barristers. We had some reading groups, we had some big events. We had in total 80 events, and we had 128 speakers in all. So more of that next year for sure. And finally, LSE uniquely is kind of really plugged into and really engages with the real world outside of the university. Have a look, this will be my final tip, have a look, for example, at the LSE public events, which are going on through the summer. In the next week alone, there's Gordon Brown, there's a seminar on Virginia Woolf, and there is the former editor of the FT talking about his memoirs. And those are all free, open to the public, and just a really good example of how LSE engages between the university students and the public. So try and immerse yourself in a bit of that before you arrive in September. Start to enjoy the LSE community, and we can't wait to see you in September. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Rachel. I think I'm handing over to Kirsty. Am I? Oh, Chris.
We are indeed. Kirsty, would you like to either share your... Thank you so much, Joe, by the way, for all of that information. And I know our offer holders will find it really motivational, hopeful as well, and really informative. So thank you so much. We're going to hear from Kirsty now, who's our LSE Careers Consultant and works in the Careers Service. Kirsty, quick question. Would you like me to share my screen for your slides, or would you like to share yourself? You have the ability, I believe.
Oh, right. Well, if I have the ability, I might try myself, because then it will save me going, Rachel, can you hit the next slide, please? And that could become a little bit boring for everyone if I keep doing that.
Like Chris Whitty on the government. Yeah, that's true. Do you want to give it a go? Yeah, you've got it. Perfect.
I think this would be working. I have had some technical issues this week where slideshow wasn't playing ball, but I think we're all right. We're okay, aren't we? Wonderful. So I promise I only have a few slides, everybody, but I think sometimes when you're hearing lots of information, I think it can be helpful just to kind of see something as you're reading it as well, especially with careers, because I think I'm going to pick up on a point that Jo mentioned, and just the fact that every one of you will be on a different journey at a different place. And I know you're considering coming to LSE, so lots going through your mind already. So actually some of you might be thinking, oh my goodness, we're now talking about careers immediately. But then on the other hand, some of you might already be thinking about your career absolutely at the other end of this. So I think for me, today it's about introducing myself. As Rachel said, I'm Kirsty and I'm one of the careers consultants in LSE Careers, but I am a consultant that is assigned, if you like, to your programme. So you'll get to see me a bit more in terms of some of the events and things we'll run. But let me just explain a little bit about careers, give you an introduction, and we'll go from there. So I think the key point is we're there for you at any point of your journey. So if you're really clear on what you want to do, wonderful, we can support you. But if you're at the other end of that journey and you're thinking, I'm still trying to figure this out a little bit. So you can see there we've got the words understand, explore, experience, implement. So the different stages of career planning, and we can help you with that. And yeah, really support you through the different resources and events we have. So let's just break that down. This slide might even be a bit overwhelming, actually, there's a lot on it. But I think in some ways this shows sort of everything we do as a service, which hopefully will be good for you to know at this stage. So you can have one-to-one appointments with LSE Careers, and we cover anything from career guidance and advice to actual practical tips with your applications. We can help with things around disability and employment, and also offer practice interviews and mock case studies. But then we'll also do some specialist work with the department. So there's dedicated one-to-one appointments, and that's usually weekly in the Michaelmas and Lent terms. So you could book an appointment with myself. We run some alumni events, so we get some former students, graduates, come back and talk about their work. So we had a series of 3 or 4 different sessions this Lent term covering different areas, for example. But we'll also do some tailored seminars and workshops in Michaelmas and Lent term, just to sort of get you underway with some more specialist information as well. And one of the sessions we tend to run yearly is how to market your LLM, which tends to be quite a popular session as well. On the top of the screen, you'll see some of our events. And I think what I'd say there, Jo's highlighted just how much goes on at LSE, and I'm going to add to that because we have an awful lot going on in careers. So I think you have to kind of pick and choose what works for you. No one's suggesting come and sign up to everything, because that could be a bit overwhelming. But we have a whole host of things. So this September into October, we'll have a 2-week law programme that will have sort of opportunities to engage with employers and law firms, for example, and employers in other sectors. I know this is really common for LLM students. They might be interested in careers beyond law or want to explore different avenues. So we run an event called International Organisations Week, for example. So that's another opportunity to hear about different careers, and that's just one example. But it's this opportunity, I think, to attend sort of larger scale events, and our careers fairs will be virtual this year, but right through to something a bit more intimate, where it's like we have a coffee morning, for example, and you can get to have a bit more of an intimate discussion. We also run things like Meet Our Alum, and that's a whole series throughout Michaelmas and Lent term, again dipping into different sectors so you can kind of explore the areas of interest to you. And I think otherwise I'll just highlight our online resources, and I'll share a link in the chat after I've finished speaking. But we have everything from career sector information. There's a whole section on law, for example, but other sectors as well. We have a jobs board, which could be of interest to people. We have lots of resources on CV writing and preparing for case interviews, etc. So I think, again, it's where are you at in your journey? Perhaps have a reflection on that, think about what will be helpful. And some of this you could start dipping into now as well, if it's helpful to read about it. So I hope that's a good overview. I mentioned our jobs database. This is called Career Hub. And actually, Career Hub is the portal that if you join LSE, once you get your LSE login, you can use that to access the various support and book appointments, for example, book events, and also access the jobs board. So I think that's just another sort of benefit, if you like, I'd just like to share that careers can offer. And this is the link I'll share in the chat, because actually before you even come to LSE, this is a kind of open access resource, so to speak, and it can help you perhaps with your career planning, reflecting on where you are at the moment, understanding on how you might research opportunities, and some practical tips. So I'll share that link in the chat in a moment. And if anyone wants to get started, I'm sure you've got enough on your plate at the moment as well with considering your options as well. But if you wish to have a look, you can do. And I've kept this slide in as well because I think it's really important to highlight our LSE Volunteer Centre. Lots of law students across the undergrad and postgraduate programmes really like to hear about the volunteering opportunities. So we have a centre that is situated within Careers, and actually you can attend events, hear about opportunities, even one-off volunteering. So if you're thinking, oh my goodness, we've heard about this intense programme, we might not have time for volunteering, but actually there'll be one-off opportunities as well. And just again, if you want to build certain skills, that could be helpful to consider. So I believe that's bringing me to the end of my slides. So I will stop screen share. And as I said, I'll pop that link in the chat in a moment, but I think just remains for me to say, welcome everybody. I hope to see many of you when we join back in September, and thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Kirsty, for covering all of that. I know that it's really important information for our students, and I hope that it gives our offer holders some food for thought. So thank you so much. And just so our offer holders know as well, you will meet Kirsty during our welcome period. And Kirsty will be going through a lot of things about starting with the career service in Michaelmas term. So thank you again, Kirsty. That's fantastic. So what we're going to do now is move on to it's very quick how we move on very fast on this. We're going to now talk to our fabulous student reps. And what I'm going to do is fill time while I spotlight all of you. So I should be, here we go. Yeah, Julia and Akanksha are now next to each other, aren't they? And there's Anisha, and there's Gabriella. And there you all are. Hopefully that all works. So just a quick overview of who our amazing students are. We have Julia, Akanksha, Anisha, and Gabriella. They are 4 of the 6 of our fabulous, we call them student reps, and they attend the termly staff student liaison committee meetings, and they feed back to us as staff student concerns, feedback, queries, anything like that, based on a whole cohort, and we action those issues during the terms whilst you're in studies. So they act as a fantastic resource as your peers for you to get in touch with. You can volunteer to do one of these positions, and more information will come during the summer and in welcome of how you can put yourself up for nominations as well. So I'm going to hand over to our lovely reps, and they're going to talk about their experience on the LLM. So Julia, Akanksha, Anisha, Gabriella, whoever wants to talk first. There you go.
I guess I can start off. Hello, everyone. I'm Gabriella. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the courses I enjoyed the most, so you can have a bit of an idea of how courses go. Back home, I'm from Brazil. I used to work as a tax lawyer. But when I came to the LLM, I decided I wanted to switch things a bit. So I wanted to focus more on corporate. I was a bit scared about it. Will I be able to follow all the classes, understand everything, considering I'm not a specialist in the subject? But it was okay. It was great. The professors, they are very patient. They ask whatever questions you have always. And 2 courses I especially enjoyed in the area of corporate were mergers, acquisitions, and restructurings in Europe. Very great course with Edmund Schuster, the professor. It's great if you're also interested in a bit of law and economics, because it intersects a lot with the ups and downs, the pros and cons of corporate rules, negotiating contracts. So it's very interesting if you enjoy law and economics too, besides corporate. And another course that I really enjoyed was private equity and venture capital. This one is with Simon Whitney. Great. I always wanted to know more about it, but I never got the chance. And it was amazing to have the chance to finally understand what it is all about. And Simon takes his time explaining basic topics and then getting into more in-depth discussions. So if you have always been interested in it, but never got the chance to really understand, I advise you take the course. And as Joe mentioned earlier, you also get the chance to take some course. You can choose to take some courses outside of the law department. I ended up doing a course in the gender department. It was sexuality, gender, and culture. It was amazing. It's a great opportunity that I think if you are interested in a topic outside of law, you should explore, because you get to meet different people who have very different backgrounds than you, think differently, and understand a topic that might be close to your heart, but you never really devoted time to. Read a lot about it, write about it. So yeah, it's a suggestion I have. Go and explore something else if you want to. I appreciate not everyone is interested in corporate. So if one of my fellow reps have any courses they would like to highlight, yeah, that would be awesome. But just enjoy being at LSE is amazing. It was one of the best experiences of my life.
Maybe I can chip in for a second. So, hi, I'm Julia. I did my undergrad in Germany and I worked there for around 2 years. I took also a lot of corporate and trade related courses, but what I would like to highlight, or what I was kind of positively surprised of, was the fact that compared to my undergrad in Germany, so many teachers here at LSE were, and I don't want to sound rude, but they were much younger and much more motivated to teach compared to what I was used to in Germany. And especially in the field of trade or corporate law, usually staff in Germany, like teachers, are just really old and male and a bit not very diverse. And here I was surprised that majority of my teachers were female, and they all, like male and female, all of the staff was really into current events and current affairs and current topics. So from my background in Germany, and I don't want to bash about that too much, but from my experience, teachers just used and recycled this old slides from like 1975. And now here at LSE, the teachers used current events, current decisions, or current changes in the market, and really made new comparisons like every year. So it was very up to date and it felt very modern, very diverse, and that was a great experience that I haven't had so far. So that's something about the courses that I really liked. Someone else wants to chip in?
Yeah, Julia. Hi, guys. So my name is Akanksha. I did my undergrad from India. And just to add to the point that Julia made about how updated the courses were, so my specialization would be in corporate and securities law. So all my courses were very corporate and financial law related, but two of the courses I selected were with Professor Sarah Patterson, and these were regarding restructuring and rescuing of companies and corporate insolvency. And like Julia said, these courses were tailored to the pandemic. So all the latest legislations, all the new amendments to the law relating to bankruptcy and insolvency. So this was the focus of our course. So you're not going to be studying stuff that's like backdated. The LLM is designed in such a way that you need to keep yourself updated as well. So it helps you develop commercial awareness, and you'll be studying that in the classroom itself also.
Okay, I'm going to quickly jump in before we change topics. But hi, I'm Anisha. I'm from Canada, and I did not do corporate. I was more focused on the human rights law area. So just yeah, so there had a bunch of interesting course options there. Three that I guess stood out to me was one, I took a course called Explaining Punishment. Out of my depth, I worked as a lawyer before back in Canada, but it was more philosophical, sociological, but I learned a lot and it was amazing. And I took another one, European Human Rights Law with Kai Muller. That was great. And then Terrorism and the Rule of Law with Connor Gearty, very engaging, very great. And I think for all of them, really it's the professor. So if they're teaching anything, I would say, you know, check them out, because I think they'd have good courses.
All right, thanks, Anisha. I think I'll talk about specialisms next. So like I said, I finished my undergrad in India, and then I was working at a corporate law firm before I moved to LSE. And while I was at the firm, I was doing a lot of private equity and capital markets. So my LLM at LSE was essentially to build on that knowledge which I gained during my practice. So like I said earlier, my specialization's in corporate and securities law. And like Joe and Rachel said, and you know, you'll be reminded throughout the year, choosing a specialization is not important. You may either enter this LLM program knowing exactly what you want, or you may enter the LLM just to get a broad, non-specialized view of all the courses. And that's a great way to go about it as well. So don't feel pressure is my point if you don't exactly know what you want to study, because all the courses are amazing, all the teachers are amazing. You may not always get the course you want, but that's again a blessing in disguise, like Joe said. And I think there are a wide range of specializations, so around 14 or 13 or 14 specializations from wide variety of legal fields, ranging from human rights to taxation. So really you can use your LLM, market it in whichever way you want, structure it in whichever way you want. It's extremely flexible. So all you can do right now, my advice would be, is go to the LSE website and just look at the different course options, look at what course falls under which specialization. There's a lot of information on the LSE website which will help you make that decision. So don't feel overwhelmed and don't feel stressed or anxious because you have somebody you know who knows exactly what they want to do or which specialization they want to do. So just take it easy and take it slowly. And we have an amazing team. The LLM team is very helpful. You can always reach out to them and they'll guide you throughout the entire way. So just feel relaxed and just do the best that you can.
I think that's really good advice, Akanksha. Thank you very much. And definitely about the specializations as well. Ladies, is there anything else that you would like to talk about? No pressure if you don't want to, but just thought I'd check.
Rachel, may I jump in? Sorry, Anisha.
Of course you can, Joe, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to, while everybody's here, I just wondered if I could come back to the question that we had in advance of today, which is what mindset shift is necessary for somebody taking the LLM compared to an undergrad law degree. I'd just love to, I mean, I sort of shared a little bit of what I thought from my experience, and both as student and teacher, but I'd love to hear your thoughts as well, if you could come in on that, or any of you. Thank you.
I'd say mind shift, you definitely can expect a very high profile course. The teachers are really great at what they're teaching. You can tell they're not second class professionals, they are the professionals in the field, at least for the courses that I took. And they are very motivated and they also expect quite a lot from you. So you definitely probably need to study a bit harder if you really want to be able to follow each week compared to an undergrad course, but you will be rewarded with so much knowledge. I'm definitely smarter than a year ago, but yeah, it takes quite some dedication, I'd say.
And I feel like you have a lot of reading to do, but it goes beyond just reading and memorizing. You have to really understand what you're reading and question it. So it's not just about repeating what someone else said. It's trying to build your own opinion, which is something you sometimes do in your undergrad, but here I feel like is one of the main focus. So really try to engage in the discussions, ask questions, and expose your opinions and try to see if that's a possibility, if that's wrong or right. There's no really wrong, but just try to criticize and engage a lot.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I mean, it's not just your professor, it's also your peers. Your peers are going to be very well read and people will be there on your program with years of experience. And, you know, you might feel intimidated walking into a classroom with people who've read so much. But I think what's important to remember is be disciplined, have fun, but also manage your time wisely. Be on top of your reading. I think that's very, very important because when exams come around, it's very swift, very fast, and you have a lot of reading. And I think all of us will agree to this. So it's all about putting yourself out there, not feeling intimidated, engaging with the discussion in class, and actually just keeping up to date with your work. Just be honest with what you do and just be up to date with every week's reading. That's it.
I think also one, because as I mentioned, I worked as a lawyer for several years before coming here, and it is quite a change. I think if you have worked before, sometimes their thinking's a lot more practical versus like what Gabriella said about, you know, you got to start thinking critically. So what I can say is don't panic if your brain doesn't get it in the first few weeks. You will get there. There will be that light bulb moment. But you know, we all came from different backgrounds, different education styles, and so you know, LSE has its particular style of learning, and there can be an adjustment to that. But it does happen, you know, you got in, you're smart, your brain, you know, you will clue in at some point, and don't be afraid to reach out if there is, you know, if you're not quite getting it or don't understand what the expectations are.
Thanks, Anisha. That's such a good point about not only the sort of substance and the content, but also the mode of studying and what's required and how that might differ from what people have done before. I mean, I remember that I did my LLM in the US. So even going from the English system to the US system was a big step, and it definitely took time to work out expectations as well as to deal with the substance. So those are fantastic tips. Thank you guys. Rachel, how are we doing for time? Do we have a couple of minutes, or should we?
If the girls would like to just wrap up with any other one of your top tips for studying the LLM, if you could pick one of your top tips, no pressure, go.
And in advance of that, just to say a huge thank you to all four for sparing the time today. Really, really appreciate it, and good luck with the rest of the dissertation. Thank you.
I can start. I think my top tip that comes to my mind is not about studying, but about what else is there. And I'd say if you decide to come to London, I don't know what's the current plan for next academic year, but if you want to come to London, I'd suggest to come as early as possible, or as in come with the official beginning of Welcome Week, because that is the first week where you meet your peers and your friends. And even if there's not an official event to be held by LSE, which there will be, I'm sure, but even outside of that, it's the best option to make friends as quickly as possible, and then you have your peers right from the beginning. So that is my suggestion.
Fantastic, thank you, Julia. Akanksha, any tips?
Yeah, actually I have two. First would be just be consistent with your work, and like sometimes things will happen when you're just overwhelmed and you can't really manage everything, but just be consistent in what you do. And second, just like Julia said, make friends. Just get out there, talk to people you would never talk to, meet with people from other countries, and just make friends, because these will be your support system. And just connect with your teachers as well, because it's very important. The teachers at LSE are very open and they're very approachable, very open door policy. So just connect with people and expand your network, and it will really help you in the long run throughout your LLM.
Brilliant, thank you. Anisha, what would be your top tip for studying the LLM?
I agree with everything that's already been said, especially from a personal standpoint. I'll have a practical one. I think just based on some of the feedback we got as student reps this year is that there, as has been mentioned, I think Joe and Kirsty, like they touched on, there are a lot of services out there at LSE for you as a student, but they're not necessarily given to you on a platter. You have to find it. So, you know, if you're like me and a procrastinator, the tip would be do some productive procrastination every now and then, check out the different websites, see what type of events are going on, and sign up for them, because you may miss out if you don't sort of keep at it and looking and seeing what's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Anisha. I think there is lots going on. So keeping your finger on the pulse is a good one. And Gabriella, no pressure, but any tips that are different?
I think my top tip would be participate in class. Don't be just an spectator. Ask questions, listen to what your friends are saying, think about it, engage with the professors. They have lots to add, your colleagues or professors, they're very open. And if you participate, you really learn, and you're gonna remember things, and the experience will be much more meaningful. So that would be my tip.
That's brilliant. Thank you all so much. Thank you to our amazing student reps for doing such an amazing job this year, and for being so open and hopefully really helpful to our offer holders to get a real instinct of what it's going to be like next year. And as Joe said, good luck with your dissertation. You're so near the end, so not long to go. Thank you guys again. Thank you. So we're going to move on. Matt Rowley has joined us. He is our department manager, and Matt's going to give us a little bit of an insight into what you can expect from your studies here at LSE. Matt, I will just spotlight you.
Thanks, Rachel.
Remove the spotlight from our lovely panel that we don't want to lose, but no offence. Let's do that. And here is Matt. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rachel, and hello everyone, welcome. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the coming term and talk a little bit about the impact that COVID-19's had and expected to have, and also to talk about travel to the UK. So first of all, I'd like to start by saying, everybody at LSE over the past year has worked incredibly hard to strike the right balance between campus safety whilst opening up as much as possible. So you may be aware that there's been a number of different phases in the UK, and particularly for us as a university, depending on the rates of COVID-19. And we've had periods where we've been more open and some periods where we've just been online. But we're now really looking to move positively out of that phase. And we're very hopeful about the coming year. But, LSE, we've had lots of infrastructure. We've had a testing regime. 90,000 tests have been done on LSE campus over the last year, which is probably the highest of any UK university from what I'm aware. So we've really had lots of resource and lots of care and attention paid to it to keep everybody safe. But as I said, the vaccination scheme in the UK is really at a stage now it's putting us in a much more positive position than we were certainly at this time last year. Our aim currently is to deliver as much as possible in-person teaching and activities as possible for the coming academic year, which is very much likely to be the vast majority of university life will really be now delivered in person. What that means for you guys on the LLM is that all LLM courses will have weekly in-person teaching sessions. The library and the student services and all campus services will be open, and they'll be fully staffed, and there'll be students visiting them. And we are planning in-person social activities and extracurricular events. So that's all been planned, and we very much expect that they will go ahead. Similarly, across the UK, you may be aware, but the restrictions are hopefully will be even more relaxed from the 19th of July. That's what the government is hoping to do, and that will feed through into general life, particularly in London. So we're very hopeful that when you come to London, things will be as much back to normal as possible. But that said, I think we are expecting there still to be some social distancing requirements during the autumn. Most likely mask wearing in some cases. So it's probably unlikely to be 100% back to normal, but very close to being. And I'll come on in a minute in terms of to vaccinations. So that's the picture and that's how it's looking. I think we're all feeling very hopeful. Obviously, there are no guarantees, and it doesn't 100% guarantee that's going to happen. Things can always change, but we are very hopeful, and there's a lot of work that's going into keeping the campus safe and for us to open up as much as possible and deliver as much in-person activity as possible. So in terms of your arrival, so this year we're asking that all students come to London, and it is not going to be possible to study remotely apart from the very start of the year. Again, this is because we think we can deliver things in person, and your experience on campus and travel to the UK will be possible. So there is, as I said, will be a 4-week grace period at the start of term where it may be that some students are delayed because of it's slightly more difficult to travel, or they're having to go into a period of quarantine, depending on where you come from, which I'll come on to. So the first 4 weeks of term, we will be delivering teaching both in person and streaming it online in a hybrid fashion. After that 4-week period, it will just be, as it currently planned, on in person only. So if you have any other if you have concerns or questions about this in terms of when you'll be able to arrive and what that means, the best people to speak to at the minute are the admissions office. And I'll come on to a bit more of this in a second. So travel to the UK. So again, I'm just going to give you a really quick digest of information you can find online. The best place to go to is the LSE website and to search for study and then graduate study. And then there's a news section, which has a COVID-19 update section, which is basically updated every week or when more information comes in. So that's a place to really go to, and I'll have all the things I'm talking about now and links to more information. So traveling to the UK. So it's possible for everyone with a student visa to travel to the UK for the start of the next academic year. This includes people who are in the red list countries. So once you have your student visa, it will mean it is possible to travel. Now, depending on which list your country is currently ranked in, green or amber or red, it will be slightly different in terms of when you get here. So for the red list countries, there will still be a requirement that you go into a managed quarantine period. So this is where you'll stay in a dedicated hotel and you'll have support from good food and tests, and this is all kind of managed by the government. So that is currently anyway the plan for the requirements. Now this is something you have to pay for. However, for people who may struggle to pay and for whatever financial hardship reason, there is a process for you to apply for some support there. So more information about this is on the admissions website, but once you apply to book a place there, you can indicate maybe you may need some financial support, and then there's a process to go through. So hopefully that is certainly not prohibitive for people coming. People from the green list countries and the amber list countries, you won't have to go into this managed quarantine process, and there is more information on the website exactly kind of what you need to do. You find your country and it'll tell you what's needed. In terms of vaccinations, LSE's advice is that if you can get a vaccine in your home country before you come, we strongly recommend it. We recommend that everyone gets vaccines just for the sake of themselves and for the whole of the LSE community. But it's not a requirement to come. So if you can't get one, don't worry, you can still come to the UK without a vaccine. And the likelihood is if you haven't had a vaccine in your home country and you come to the UK, you will be able to get one when you're here. So again, the details of that are still being fully worked out in terms of where you get it. Maybe it's on campus or it may be at one of the local NHS providers, but that will be possible and you'll be able to book that when you come to the UK. So we're very much hoping things are looking more positive. We're really excited about delivering teaching in person, seeing people face to face, the teaching, the social activities. If things do change, we may have to adapt, but we've got quite a lot of experience of adapting to things like that over the last few years. So we can do that, but we're very much hoping that we don't have to. In terms of any questions you have about this, as I say, go to the admissions website. That's where all the information is. That's where you can click through to the government website. You can send admissions an email. But if you still aren't finding what you need, get in touch with LSE. Get either with graduate admissions, or if you need to, get in touch with the law department, and we'll point you in the right direction. And we hope to see all of you in person in September.
Thank you so much, Matt. That's great. I'm just going to remove your spotlight again and probably spotlight myself. Does that work? I don't think we need to worry if I'm on spotlight at all. Thank you so very much. So I'm just going to now very quickly run through as many of the questions that you submitted as possible. Thank you for submitting so many. I hope that what our student reps and Matt and Joe and also Kirsty have already covered would have touched upon some of those questions that you would have had. But as Matt said, you can always get in touch with us if any of these don't cover those questions at this time. But do be aware that more information is coming out over the summer as we get it, as well as a department and as an institution. So do bear that in mind. But what I'm going to do is very quickly share my screen so you can see the questions coming up. There we go. Okay, so this is some of the more common questions that we received, just so that you're aware, and we've grouped them all together, so hopefully most of them will be answered for you. So when will registration for modules open on the LLM programme? So the course selection period opens at 10 AM on Monday the 20th of September, and this is the first Monday of welcome. LLM students are given priority access to law courses for the first week of the course selection period, so you will get first dibs scholarships on all courses that are run by the Department of Law. We will be holding a specific graduate course selection information session. That's going to be held online, more than likely at the end of August or early September. And this is going to cover how the course selection system works and what you're going to need to do. We're going to get you lots of information of how to sign up for that session over the summer. So do look out for us in your emails and make sure that they don't fall into your junk as well. So the next question, when will the Welcome Week take place? So for LLM students, the welcome period is going to start on Friday, the 17th of September. And that's the day that you'll come to campus to complete in-person registration. And you'll also attend your Welcome to LSE Law sessions with the head of programme and our programme directors as well. We are planning for our welcome sessions to be in person on campus, but if restrictions mean we're unable to do this, the presentations will be held online, and they also will be recorded for those unable to attend as well. Again, you're going to receive lots of detailed information about this period over the summer, as well as any updated plans for registration, which will include an online element. But if this is subject to change, we will ensure that all of our students know. But please mark in your calendars, Friday the 17th of September, that's the main registration date, and lots of information starts. I think the school information is generally that welcome starts on Monday the 20th, but for our programme it is Friday the 17th of September, so do mark that date in your calendars. Is there a list for the 21-22 courses and specialisms found on the LSE webpage, subject to change depending on the graduate course guide? So the published list of courses and specialisms, which were included in our most recent offer holders newsletter, is now final. Our specialism topic options remain the same as the previous few years, and Dr. Braithwaite has been over those with you as our student reps. And as Joe said, we have about 70 law courses for students to choose from, so there is a lot of choice. Do be aware that you can also select courses from outside of the department. Generally, most of ours will be a half unit. That's what most students would take as an outside option. The online LSE calendar, which is an online resource, this includes programme regulations, and I think we put that in the chat of the webinar today as well, but we can send those links within our post offer communications to you later on. Within the calendar, you're going to see programme regulations and the graduate course guides for each individual course. At the moment, they're only showing the 2020-2021 academic year, but these are due to be updated by the end of August at the very latest. And again, once these are updated, we'll make sure that those links are sent to you. The graduate course guide will be able to tell you if a particular course you might be interested in that's not offered by the Department of Law is open to outside students. And it will say that in the availability section on there. So you've got a lot to look at and consider, lots of different course options that you might want to do. And as I say, it's generally one half unit course that you should take as an outside option. You don't have to, you can do all law courses if you want to. We want you to do that. But as some of our students said, it's fantastic to look at what the options are outside, as there is plenty of choice as well. So the next question, are there accommodation scholarships for LSE dorms? So generally, specific accommodation bursaries are for undergraduate students only who are UK nationals. So no, there's no specific accommodation scholarships. However, it is worth exploring your options with the LSE Financial Support Office, who can advise you what financial support would be open to you. The webpage link, as you can see, is just displayed on your screen, or you can simply Google LSE Financial Support Office, get in contact with them, and do look at all the different types of bursaries and scholarships that might be available to you. Do make sure that you're always looking at postgraduate, that's aimed for postgraduate students, because some may be only specific for undergraduate or PhD students as well. Which grades can we reach with our dissertation / overall grade for our LLM? So the LLM classification screen, scheme is displayed on your screen just there. I've also included the web address for the scheme of award, as it's called, for the LLM programme. And the scheme of award details how the degree awards or the classifications are actually calculated. So you can have a look at that PDF on there as well. So it's distinction, merit, pass, and you can see the different mark schemes within that you would need to reach that grade or that classification. Anything over a 70 is awarded a distinction, 60 to 69 is a merit, and a pass is 50 to 59. And again, all of this information is housed in the LSE calendar, which is available online. Generally, if you Google LSE calendar, it will more than likely come up as well, but all of these links will be made available to you. I'm an offer holder for the general LLM. Can I choose to specialise when I choose my courses for the year? And I think we've covered some of this, but I'm happy to do that again. You will have the opportunity to request a specialism area to be recorded on your degree certificate during Lent term, so you don't need to do anything at the moment. We will invite students to request their specialism. You don't need to do this prior to being invited. As Joe did mention, to qualify for a specialism, you need to be taking or be registered on relevant specialism courses to a minimum of 2 full units. So generally that's 4 half-unit Department of Law courses. The LL4F9 dissertation course, the LL4F9 is the code for the dissertation course. This can be used to qualify for the specialism so long as the topic you're writing directly relates to your desired specialism. So that's another option for you there to be able to meet that specialism criteria. It is important to note that specialism LLM degrees are only optional, and that's what some of our student reps said, and I know Joe said that as well. So you don't have to request one at all. You can have a general LLM degree certificate and it will state LLM Master of Laws. If you do decide to do a specialism, it would state LLM Master of Laws brackets public international law or something like that. But as I say, it's only optional. You don't have to do this at all. Okay, so hopefully most of that covered some of your general questions. As I said, we know that you will have lots more questions over the summer, and depending on some of the UK restrictions being lifted, and hopefully Matt, I think he's covered most of that we can tell you for now, but we are very much planning for on campus. So I hope that alleviates some of your queries. However, you might still have lots of questions. If you have program related queries, please email law.llminquiries@lse.ac.uk. Generally myself and some of my colleagues will answer those. But as I say, it is program related questions. If you have questions relating to your offer conditions, sending documents relating to your offer, if you're sending documents, you need to send them to graduate.documents@lse.ac.uk. And if you do have offer related questions regarding admissions, if it's an English language condition, if you've got questions relating to some of the exams you're doing in the summer for your current undergraduate degree, perhaps that's what you're doing, you do need to get in touch with the LSE Graduate Admissions Office directly. We would love to be able to help you with all those things, but they're a completely separate office. So if you could try to remember that we'll deal with all your program related stuff, but if you've got questions about your offer conditions, do talk to LSE Graduate Admissions and they'll help you as best they can. Finally, I just want to remind you to I don't know if you would have received this in some of our offer communications. We do have something called Destination LSE, and this is run by the school and the student recruitment department. It's a really, really good opportunity for you to perhaps start meeting some of other offer holders around the world. It's quite relaxed and informal. You can learn more about the school, ask any questions that you might have. They are happening, some are virtual, some are actually happening in the countries that you might live, including obviously the UK. If you have a look at that link there, again, we'll send all these links round, you can see what's available and what's going to be coming up. They're run by the Student Recruitment Office, and they're the people that will be able to give you some more information, but it's a really good thing to keep in mind for the summer months, so that you can start meeting more people within the school, and some of your fellow students as well, which I think is a really good opportunity. So if I just stop sharing there, I think that is all that is left to say is thank you so very much to our lovely panel, to Jo Braithwaite, who is the LLM Programme Director, Gabriella, Anisha, Julia and Akanksha, our amazing student reps, and obviously to Matt Rowley, our Department Manager, and Kirsty, who works in our Careers Department, for all the information. I hope you found this really useful. We are going to be having more offer holder events over the summer covering some different topics. But one of the main ones you will want to know about is a graduate course selection. We're going to have a specific event just for that, to answer your questions and go through that process with you. And we will be sending more information about that later in the summer. Thank you so very much for joining today. A copy of this recording will go out to students as well. And if you do have any more questions, as always, please do just let us know. But we look forward to welcoming you to the programme. Thank you so much for joining us today. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.